Hello, everybody. Hello. Welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all doing absolutely fantastic and that you're all having a great day. Don't forget to leave a... Sorry for screaming. Don't forget to leave a like on the video. It's a free and easy way to support the channel. Brand new video every 24 hours. And without any further ado, let's jump right into it. June has been described as the third part in the trifecta of cryptocurrency prices moving a lot higher. That sentiment and momentum has not gone away with the amount of, and I mean, if we can be completely honest with ourselves, the amount of companies who have recently announced they're moving into Bitcoin and buying crypto, and this is happening, it's been monumental and seemingly unending. And therefore, a lot of institutions and companies and analysts, once again, for those of you who forgot, April, May, and June. June is meant to be the time frame where prices go a lot higher. And then we've heard a lot of the sprinkles for July and August as far as prices going higher. In popular news today, as you might expect, a widely followed analyst says that Bitcoin may be gearing up for a series of unexpected explosive moves to the upside for one main reason. It's actually around 16 reasons. People keep trying to, I say it nicely, people try and have like one narrative, like this one thing is happening. No, I'm pretty sure at this point, it's the 20 companies who are buying Bitcoin daily. I'm pretty sure it's the central banks. I'm pretty sure it's the governments in the Middle East buying up a lot of Bitcoin. It must be 21 capital. It just has to be multiple things. It's the de-dollarization. It's the sovereign wealth funds buying. It's not just one thing or one main reason. No, it's always, in this market, it's always a multitude, because we see that the literal world reserve currency is collapsing. We see that the US cannot and will not get their debt under control. And once again, there are multiple companies who are doing everything that they can this year to buy up all the remaining Bitcoin on cryptocurrency exchanges. In a new thread, crypto trader Michael van de Poppe told people on the Twitter that Bitcoin may soon increase by more than 82% of its current value. That's a very exact number. I would have gone for 80, but okay. The analyst believes an increasing number of investors will move their wealth into Bitcoin due to its scarcity and store of value attributes as the US dollar weakens. Do you understand that we are witnessing the end of the US dollar? There was a video on YouTube. It was a bunch of people discussing. They said, the weirdest thing is that you kind of assume that the US dollar will always be there, which in some capacity it will. But they were like, they couldn't have imagined that during their lifetime, they would see like the literal cascading downward of the US dollar, the US dollar's value, people de-dollarizing, and like aggressively moving their money and their wealth into anything that's not US based. Like it's almost unimaginable, because this has been this way. This has been the status quo since 1945. So seeing anything else is kind of like, ugh, like what in the world is going on? Regarding like actual Bitcoin scarcity, I've come to the conclusion. Remember I said before, and it's not a joke and it's not being mean, I think a lot of people aren't smart enough to actually invest in Bitcoin or know what it is. So I think the vast majority of people will jump into Bitcoin because number go up. I don't think they'll understand that Bitcoin supply go down and that there's like actually less, they will simply see that the valuation of it will move higher. And then they'll go, now I need to get some. I think a lot of people really don't get it. A lot of people, do you remember? I told you years ago, I had a number of friends, but there was one in particular that sticks in my head. I tried to explain in the simplest terms inflation to him. He couldn't get it after 30 minutes. I had never been so frustrated in my life. If a lot of people don't get or didn't get inflation, they sure as heck are not going to understand deflation or what it actually means for the consumer and how it will better their lives. Okay. He said Bitcoin is going to an all-time high faster than I expected. 120,000 is imminent. 150,000 is imminent. $200,000 is imminent. Why? Because more and more people are done with the constant devaluation of the dollar. He said for ETH, he's also expecting it to go a lot higher as well, and he's expecting, I'll give you the full circle. I literally just made a circle with my hands. The full circle is that this month and next month, people are predicting a $3,800 to a $4,500 ETH. I think it's interesting that almost out of nowhere, this optimism has kind of popped up for Ethereum, where a lot of people were quite bearish the last couple of months. And if you just said the words, well, so were you. No, the problem is that Ethereum's not doing anything. Like it's not bearish. It's just, realistic. It's the largest altcoin. It's the most used chain on the planet. So, we should, if Bitcoin has passed by previous all-time highs, this logically tells me that ETH should be around $5,000 now. And the fact that it's not, question marks. So cool. Mishael is not the only one saying these things. There's a lot of people out there discussing Bitcoin's price this month and next month, with analysts across the board still chiming in for a $250,000 BTC by the end of the YEAR. That's the Bitcoin price prediction news. And yeah, let's move on. Okay. Yeah, I guess that, okay, cool. Yeah, all right. This made really, I was actually a little taken aback when I saw just how popular this was. It's not that it shouldn't have been popular, but it's like, okay. Video game retailer GameStop has scooped up Bitcoin worth approximately $513 million at the time of writing. Despite being already flush with cash, the company offered debt in March to raise the funds for Bitcoin acquisitions in a strategic shift to include crypto in its financial strategy. They didn't really have a choice. GameStop is still running on momentum from 2020, 2021, and 2022, where their stock went back up. A lot of that money has been allocated into cash for the company. They're also trying to change what they do as a company as well. They recently announced they're going to be getting more into like selling Pokemon cards. That's not a joke. Pokemon is gigantic. It's a very large, expanding market. And they're also going to be selling more Pokemon cards in their shops as well to add additional revenue, because these things tend to sell out. On top of that, there were rumors before of them making some kind of a, of a streaming service. I assume that fell apart. Also having games online similar to Steam and whatnot, I assume also fell apart as well. So 5 months ago, they had like a shareholder meeting, and it was, I believe, unanimous that they were like, hey, let's also allocate some money into Bitcoin as well. It finally happened, and this had a very similar very similar feeling to like Robinhood. Years ago, if Robinhood did anything with crypto, like people were like they lost it. They thought it was the greatest news to ever hit the news ever. And this kind of had that same feeling. People thought that we were in some kind of a new renaissance simply because of GameStop buying up $500 million worth of Bitcoin. Not that it's a small amount. It's just that, like, well, we knew they were going to do it. We knew it was going to happen at some point. According to a Form 8K filing, The Grapevine, Texas headquartered firm, purchased 4,710 Bitcoin after completing a $1.5 billion convertible note offering in early April. There's a blank spot there. Okay. The Bitcoin investment follows GameStop's move to diversify its balance sheet. Rumors about GameStop's initial interest in Bitcoin began to circulate in February after CEO Ryan Cohen posted an uncaptioned photo of himself with Michael Saylor. Blah, 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 in the vocal advocate for Bitcoin, yada, yada. The rumors intensified days after a CNBC report days later revealed that the favorite meme stock of the 2020s was considering investments in alternative assets, including Bitcoin. Once again, they didn't really have a choice. The gaming market is not the same as it used to. A lot of it is done online. You still have players who prefer a physical copy, but I am one of the people, I prefer things digital. I like having as little weight as possible. I don't like having 500 cartridges and games and stuff everywhere. I'd rather just have it on the actual console or online somewhere. So they have to shift. It's kind of like if you've never seen why like a lot of Middle Eastern countries like make so much money, it's because they in the 70s they realized that like petrol was going to end at some point because nothing is infinite. And they were like, hey, actually, let's start doing other stuff. So this is why like Dubai and these other places look so beautiful and have this like momentum that they have. It's because they realized years ago that they had to change course. So if GameStop is going to succeed, they need to do something, like literally anything. They could have become a real estate company, and they also would have done extremely well. But they're pivoting into Bitcoin instead, following or trying to replicate what MicroStrategy did. If you missed it, once again, MicroStrategy went up by 3,000% their stock since announcing that they were buying Bitcoin, and other companies have basically been trying to follow suit. This was everywhere, not some places. This was all over the place. People were really acting as if this was the best thing that we have ever heard in our entire lives, and nothing was ever going to get better than this. So we will probably, hear that they at some point purchased another $500 million in the next couple of months. Most companies, it looks like, and I don't know how they're going to do this, but good luck. A lot of companies, for some reason, have like an aim of trying to get to 100,000 Bitcoin. It's not that it's funny so much as like it's not going to happen because there's just not enough Bitcoin for all of them. So if we might end up hearing that GameStop is trying to get to 21,000 Bitcoin, similar to MetaPlanet. Cool. So back on the cart, on the train, something with wheels that's moving forward, because we keep hearing about companies every single day, and some days it's like 3 a day, who are gonna be buying some BTC. That's the GameStop bought $500 million. Can you imagine waking up and just spending $500 million US on something? Must be nice. And yeah, let's move on. Also, in extremely popular news, a couple of days ago, there was it Santi? I always say Santiment. They're the ones that pop into my head. There was some analytical company within the cryptocurrency space who announced that investors should be allocating a portion of their portfolios into XRP. And then we heard there was another company, something face something, who announced, what was it? They said that they believed, according to their charts, that XRP was the only coin that could rival Bitcoin in some sort of way. They were expecting in their report that XRP this year is going to become the number 2 coin. And as far as what they say institutions are paying attention to, it was Bitcoin number 1 and XRP number 2. So this should come as no surprise. Maybe it might. I don't know. I mean, I know where it's coming from, but I also don't know where it's coming from. We existed in this space for the last 7, almost 8 years with institutions and companies and banks never really talking positively about XRP. And then for some reason, since November of last year, everyone's releasing these studies and this paperwork talking about how XRP is amazing, and if you don't have it, you need some. And it's like, okay. A recent report from the crypto exchange Kraken highlights XRP as a valuable asset in diversified crypto portfolios. The report uses a data-driven framework that incorporates the Monte Carlo simulation and efficient frontier modeling. However, amid these fluctuations, Kraken's report used a framework called Monte Carlo simulations to gauge XRP's constructiveness. This statistical technique models and analyzes the behavior of complex systems that involve uncertainty and randomness. The report is titled, and I quote, "In a portfolio of digital assets, XRP is constructive," end quote. It concluded that even a modest allocation of 3.9% into XRP can improve overall portfolio efficiency. And here's the thing right here from their report. This level of exposure, determined within a minimum variance framework, reportedly sustains annualized returns near 14% while also reducing portfolio volatility. I don't know where all this stuff is coming from. I can only imagine, I can only imagine it has to do with the lawsuit ending, with XRP not being a security, with the second part of the lawsuit like officially ending. I assume maybe there's a portion of Brad Garlinghouse having dinner and hanging out with Trump. I listen, I'm just using logic here. Because we've been getting a lot of this. This was something that was usually only like near Bitcoin. We'd hear about institutions talking about how amazing and awesome and fantastic and Bitcoin allocations. And a lot of the news recently has shifted into this idea of like, well, having some XRP in your portfolio. So I assume we're going to keep hearing stuff like this. And I mean, this could also be because XRP was one of the coins listed for the U.S. Reserve. So maybe at some point in the very near future, we're going to hear about a company or companies accumulating XRP as well. So who knows? That's the Kraken. Suggests a 3.9% asset allocation into XRP into a portfolio news. I mean, I don't want to say that it makes sense, but it kind of makes sense. And yeah, let's move on. Wait. Yeah, this is also it right here. Yeah, of course. I mean, let's be honest. We knew that this was going to be popular news. Anyone thinking otherwise has never been in the cryptocurrency space, because people really like XRP. So just throwing that out there. Also in the news, and something that shouldn't be surprising, but possibly was, Blackstone, not Blackrock, the largest alternative asset manager globally, with around $1.2 trillion in these numbers don't sound real. Can any of you actually say you can envision yourself having a company that has $1.2 trillion in assets. The idea of $1 billion in my mind sounds so insane. But then, I mean, you also have people like Rihanna, you know, with lipstick, and they end up making a billionaire. But 1.2 trillion sounds nutso. $1.2 trillion in assets under management has entered the cryptocurrency market by investing in Bitcoin exchange-traded funds. Let's be completely clear and honest with ourselves. Blackstone, Blackrock, Blacktooth, Black Toe, all these companies out there, they've been in Bitcoin for a while. This isn't the first time. This isn't something brand new or that should be shocking. What ends up happening is, and I'll frame it to you this way, these companies own physical, like on-chain Bitcoin, and have for a very long time. You don't become and are not a $1.2 trillion company, a $3 trillion company, a company that has $11 trillion in assets like Blackrock, and you don't own some of these coins, some of these assets in some way or some capacity. You literally have exposure to everything that could make you money. It's just that now Blackstone has some ETFs that are revolving around Bitcoin. The firm revealed their holdings in a filing from the US SEC on the 20th of May. It says the iShares Bitcoin Trust ETF IBIT consists of 23,094 shares valued at $1 million. So they only have $1 million worth of Bitcoin. ProShares Battery Bitcoin Strategy ETF. They have $181,000, and Bitcoin Depot. Is that like Home Depot but for Bitcoin? That's terrible. Sorry, they have $6,000 in that. Tell me they don't care about that company without telling me. 6,000 is crazy. That's not even. Have you ever seen before like the comparisons of like really wealthy people and like what $100 like is to them? Somebody made a video online. It was some woman she was talking about. I forgot who it was. She was like, this person is so rich. She said if they walked down the street and every step that they took, a $100 bill fell out of their pocket, it would actually not be worth their time to bend down and pick it up. The time that it took for them to bend down, pick up that 100 and stuff it back into their other pocket, they would have made several $100s within that 1 second. It's literally not even worth their time. $6,300 is actually diabolical. That's like, who put in that order? Who put in it? Like, imagine being a $1.2 trillion company and you're sitting at the computer and you're like, should we just put in 3 million? 15? No, wait, 6,300.00 enter. Like, that's crazy. The investments were made by Blackstone's alternative multi-strategy fund, BTMIX, which oversees $2.63 billion in assets. The purchase comprises 23,000. I just told you all the numbers. Cool. So this also got some people riled up, if you will. I mean, really, you don't understand the power for a lot of people of hearing that a company or an institution bought Bitcoin, looked at Bitcoin, got Bitcoin a coat. Just people really love it in a multitude of ways. So cool. That one thing that they own purchased some Bitcoin ETF shares. You all know that Blackstone has an enormous amount of Bitcoin, right? Anywho, that's the Blackstone news. Moving along. Once again in the news, stock market listed Brazilian payments firm called Melus. I said Melus before. Melus has unveiled plans to spend around $26.5 million on Bitcoin purchases. The Brazilian outlet Live Coins reported that the company will raise funds to buy more Bitcoin as part of its newly established Bitcoin strategy. Earlier, we heard that they had purchased Bitcoin before. I think it was, I don't remember the number. It says Melus became Brazil's first stock market listed Bitcoin treasury company, spending 28. There we go. That's why it sounds familiar. 28.5 million. And they purchased 274 Bitcoin, and this time they're raising more money to spend 26.5 million. Okay, makes a lot of sense. Are there words? Nope, just a chart. Fantastic. Okay. The company will continue to buy Bitcoin in the weeks ahead. In a statement, the company declared its intention to raise no less than 26.5 million on new BTC acquisitions. The firm said it had told its shareholders about its intentions and now was evaluating its fundraising options. Cool. That's fun. Sorry if my enthusiasm simply isn't there. It's just that this happens every single day, multiple times. So remember in the olden days, like 3 months ago, where we were only hearing about these companies like once a week? And then that went up to like 3 a week. Now we're hearing about 2 or 3 a day. It's constantly companies who are buying up Bitcoin in a multitude of ways. Never forget that if they bought 400 Bitcoin, that's 400 Bitcoin that can never be owned ever by the richest people on the planet. And then for normal people, boy howdy, that is, what is that? Around 400,000 people who will never be able to own a minimum amount of Bitcoin. So if you have any Bitcoin, count yourself lucky. If you have 1 million Satoshis, count yourself luckier. If you have any more than that, it is impossible for anyone to get ahead of you. You don't understand the actual numbers. Every day that we hear these numbers, you incrementally get richer in Bitcoin daily. Do you understand that? Every time we hear that a company spent $500 million, 26 million, 38 million, they're literally taking away Bitcoin from millionaires and billionaires. That means that you mathematically are more prepared than they are. Well, I think that's going to do it for this video. I do hope that you have all enjoyed. I hope you all are having a great day, morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope that it is absolutely fantastic. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.